Good morning, everyone. Mic check. Hope you guys are doing well. Today is June the 26th. Today is a Thursday. We do have some red folder news that is going to be at 8:30. You can see the semis, man. The semis continuing to push higher. I've been talking about the semis for a while now. NVIDIA all-time highs. That was in play yesterday. AMD, really solid daily time frame breakout. MU also had earnings. That's why we had a little bit of a bigger pop on NVIDIA and AMD. But yeah, as you can see here, we'll go on to the semiconductors and talk about them a little bit more here in a second. Before we do that, good morning. Good morning, B Roots. Thanks to everyone in the Discord and the modules. Appreciate that, KO. Good morning, Steven, Josh, Martin, Damien, Non Tali. Good morning, Daniel, Amila, Monty, Ryan, Juan, Jeff, Jose, Audrey, Robert, Jen. Good morning, Rick, JT, Cuba, Infinite, Henry, Centurion, Ashley. Good morning, everyone. Todd, Paul, I am. May, Relax, Carlos, Andreas, Hartik. Yeah, what's up, everyone? Hope you guys are doing well. Let's go on to the major indices and let's go over exactly the levels that we have coming into market open. Before we do that, let's kind of go over the SPY and Qs just briefly. We do have all-time highs in play for the SPY. This is the level I mentioned we like to see the markets gravitate towards, 609. So your 609 here is your all-time highs. We wanted to see that level get hit yesterday. Yesterday, a little bit more consolidation on the SPY, but now you can see gap up. And the next level that we do have is going to be your all-time high. So let's first start off on the ES. So ES, first things first, what we do have here is your higher time frame. So let me just remove a few things and zoom out. So as you can see here for the ES, really we've just been stair stepping ever since we broke outside the range. We talked about this. We like to see it start trending in the overall markets. Every single higher low is now being bought up. You can see the down close candles are being respected and we're continuing towards the upside. So for the ES, as you can see here, we have a couple key pivot levels. This technically is your all-time highs. If I get rid of the adjusted contracts, you can see technically we would hit your all-time highs, as you can see right here. So if I move this level right here for the ES and I only had the adjusted contracts turned off, you can see that we actually just hit all-time highs this morning for the ES contract, but I prefer the adjusted contracts to be on. So for the ES, the key levels that I do have in this case is going to be still the exact same level, your 61.69. That's going to be key for the ES. And then the next level is going to be your 6207. So coming into today, what I like to see now is the reaction that we have off of your 6144. And then I'm also going to mark out your previous day highs along with your high that we created, which will be your SPY all-time highs. So we can mark this level, drag this one over. This is going to be your previous day highs on the ES. And then we also have your pre-market level so far, which is your 6169, which is a key pivot level here on the daily time frame. If you go into the SPY chart, key levels that we have is your 609 all-time highs. This is the level we like to see it gravitate towards. As long as it now maintains above your 608, which is your Monday's highs, we can expect nice continuation back towards your all-time highs, SPY 609. So this is really the last level that we have here on the major indices. So QQQ already at all-time highs. You can actually see it came back down to retest your all-time highs perfectly later into the session, which was really solid, as you can see right here for the QQQ. 539.38 previous all-time highs, as you can see, to almost a tick. So if I actually if I readjust this level, right, your all-time highs back from February of 2025, you can see touch here, and now we got above this level and we're using this as a retest. So for the QQQ, you can see, let me just get rid of this. We had a few key levels. We had your 539 along with your previous day highs. You can see the Qs broke above your all-time highs, came up, came all the way back down, retested your 539.40, and then we ended up having this nice continue push back towards the highs. So now the key levels I'm going to have marked out today is going to be your previous day highs, 542.50s here for the QQQ. So what we have here for the Qs, let me actually just readjust this. It's going to be your previous day highs. Previous day highs, 543. So you can see here, touch here, another touch, and then we have the QQQ where you can see big push up here in the pre-market. Now we like to see it maintain your 543. If we can maintain your 543, we like to now see this continue push back towards the highs. As for SPY, SPY 613, your all-time highs. Yeah, so it depends if you have your after hours turned on and off as well. So for sometimes if you look at this, so you have the adjust for contract. It's a similar thing here. It's the adjust for contract changes. So if you have the SPY turned on, it's the bottom right. So what you'll have marked out if you adjust the contracts for dividends. So what you have here on SPY is it pays dividends. So it pays dividends, as you can see, if you go onto the bottom right, you can see the dividend date. We had one recently, and then we had another one all the way back from March of last year. So if you don't have the adjusted contracts turned on, right, this is basically what the chart difference will look like if you had the adjusted contracts turned on and turned off. So you can see if you have this level, you can mark this out as 613. If you have the adjusted contracts for dividends turned on, right, then you'll see it's kind of the 609 key pivot level. So I'm just saying it's all time. This is just a key level on the overall market. So what we have here, similar with SPY and Qs as well, is if you turn it on or off, right, depending if you have this, you can see the levels are going to be fairly similar. Both these levels are going to be key regardless, just because of the ES and the NQ. So for the SPY, what matters in this case is the thesis, right? If it hits all-time highs or the exact level. So depending on the exact level, right, the thesis is what matters in this case. And what we're talking about for really the past few months is the push back towards all-time highs. So that's really the general thesis. As for the exact level in this case, right, 609.57, if you have this turned off, then the next levels is going to be your 613.30s. So for the SPY key levels, we can still have those marked out. We can mark out other key levels here as well. Let's go back onto the QQQ. Qs in this case, previous day highs, I'd like to see this hold for continuation. If we get back underneath, as I mentioned, I'm not bearish bias whatsoever. Any short positions, in my opinion, are going to be a little bit more difficult, right? Every single long, every dip has gone bought up so far. Let's talk about some of the tech names coming into today. Tesla, mean reversion. This one ended up actually reversing all its gains that we had from Monday. So Monday, nice breakout. And then yesterday, we got back underneath this 344. So this is the level I talked about yesterday. Key pivot level. If Tesla maintains underneath this level, there is a possibility that we could gravitate back down towards our 336. And this one, within the first really 5 minutes, showed a lot of relative weakness compared to the overall market. You can see nice reaction right off the bat. Weak candle closure, and then you just had continuation lower. So for Tesla now, we're just back right where we broke out from, which is this 320 key level. I'm not too interested in trading Tesla, at least now with the overall market gravitating higher. Tesla's consolidating. Now it's right back inside the middle of the range as well. So any sort of short position, potentially if you can get underneath your previous day lows, but we're just right back in the area of consolidation that we had from its previous 2 weeks. So for Tesla, key levels that you're just gonna have marked out today, previous day lows, 322, and really the level that we broke down from 336. Besides that, you can mark out your pre-market highs and your pre-market lows. Potentially, right, you could be looking for pre-market high break continuation. If it gets underneath your pre-market lows, potentially you can see your 322. So that's for Tesla. As for the semiconductors, so semiconductors still very much bullish. Hopefully you guys we're able to capture some of the semiconductors. I've been hammering the semis, especially on the SMH. SMH, if you guys don't know, is a semiconductor ETF. So you have the SPY, which is S&P 500. You have the QQQ, which is the NASDAQ. The SMH is strictly semiconductors. So As you can see here, we talked about kind of the semis leading the way back towards the upside. Why? Because it was relatively strong compared to the Qs. So the semiconductors basing, it started breaking out earlier in June, kind of leading its way towards the upside. So this is the main thing that we're looking for if you want to see continuation. So for the semiconductors, you can see we had that consolidation breaking out. We have another consolidation breaking out. Now what's the next level here for the semis? Really all the way back towards your all-time highs, 285. So I can turn back on some of these drawings. Let me actually remove a few levels here as well. So for the semiconductors, as you can see right here, next levels that we have is going to be your all-time highs, 281. Let me actually get this level out marked properly. This is actually your 283. So 283.01, it's not the exact level, but just roughly have it drawn out. 283 all-time highs for SMH. You can see very strong 2 days that have closed above your 264. Next logical level, all dips you can expect to get bought up for your 283. So that's the level that we have. We can also mark out other levels as well, being your 278, and we can also mark out here it's going to be this 277.50. So let's go back onto lower time frames here for SMH. Key levels coming into today is going to be this 278. Now we can also mark out your previous day highs here as well, which is going to be your 275 and then 278, and then this 283 all-time high. So coming into today here for SMH, as long as you maintain above key levels. So the key levels that we have marked out is now your previous day highs, 275. You can see Monday, we're above your Monday's highs. Sorry, this is your Tuesday's highs. We're above your, we're above quite a bit of highs. So this is your Monday's price action. We're above your Monday's highs. We're above your Tuesday's highs. Wednesday's highs is your 275. So as long as you maintain above your 275, I like to see continuation back towards the upside. So key levels, as long as you maintain 275 on the higher time frames, regardless, right, daily time frame breakout, the next logical level is going to be your all-time highs, 283 on the SMH. So that's what we have for at least the overall semiconductor. So that gives us a little bit more of a clear picture of what's going on the higher time frames. Let's go back onto NVIDIA now. Key levels that we do have, let's remove a few levels here, is number one from yesterday. We're using basically its opening ranges after this big push up here in the pre-market. Now you can see another continuation higher because this is your all-time high. So for NVIDIA, the key levels that we have is your 153. This is your all-time highs that we have marked out. And now you can see that we're above your all-time highs with a strong candle close. So you can see how strong this candle close here on NVIDIA. You can see buyers started stepping in here for a push towards your 153. Now we're above your all-time high. So any sort of major dip, we like to see hold above your 153 for continuation back towards the upside. So for NVIDIA now, key levels that we are going to have marked out is going to be your previous day highs. And now we're going to have to use your pre-market levels because we are at all-time highs. So levels we can have marked out is going to be your 154.50s. This is your previous day highs, also your all-time highs in the after hours back from earlier this year. I like to see any sort of dip down in towards your 154 for this continued push back towards the upside. Right now, you can see we're pushing higher here in the pre-market along with the SPY and the rest of the market. So we'll have to mark down key levels in the pre-market, which will be your 156 and also intraday levels as well using your opening range candle. So at least on the higher time frames, these are the levels I have marked out. And then we'll also go, once the market does open, we'll have to mark out intraday levels. As for Microsoft, this one, you can expect it to continue higher. All-time highs play as well. Key levels, just mark out your old highs and old lows. In this case, what I have marked out is your Tuesday's high. Tuesday's highs, you like to see it maintain if you want to see continuation higher. For Apple, another one, just a lot more consolidation, not too much to talk about. Semiconductors leading the way. Apple, a lot of consolidation this week in a very tight range, just back inside of the range that we had for the past few weeks. So really not too much to talk about here on Apple. As for Meta, this one, if you look on the daily chart, building up higher lows here as well. Key levels for Meta now, what you like to see hold is your 704, the exact level that you can see we have a reaction off of. So right now, currently, Meta broke outside of its range, which is this 706, along with this 678. Broke outside, retest. Now what we like to see, continuation towards the upside. So for Meta, key levels 706 that we have marked out. Other levels as well is now going to be this 713. Tuesday's highs, if you can maintain above your Tuesday's highs, we like to see this push back up in towards your previous day highs, 717 here on Meta. As for Google, nice kind of mean reversion yesterday. Google getting bought up. Now we're right back in towards our 173. This is the level that we broke down from. So for Google coming into today, what we like to see really maintain above your previous day highs. If you want to see any sort of pushback towards the upside, if we reject off this level, possibility that we just come back inside of yesterday's range. So key level today is going to be your previous day highs. We can actually readjust this level now. Key levels for me, previous day highs in the area that we broke down from, which is going to be this 173. So let me actually just readjust this. So key levels today, previous day highs in combination 173 here on Google. As for Amazon, similar thing, a little bit more consolidation this week. You can see this week's price action. Monday pushed higher, just not really following along here with the QQQ. So far on the higher time frames, we are just consolidating. And what I would like to see is really the break of your 218. 218 break is going to be key for me if we want to see any sort of continuation higher, right? 218, this is going to be the best opportunity above that level. You could also look for, right, 214, but I'm talking about the daily chart, 218 is going to be super solid. At least if we're talking about today, right, 214 key levels. We like to see it above your 214 and hold if you want to see any sort of continuation back towards the upside. As for AMD, so AMD, one of the leaders that we've had back towards the upside here. We've talked about AMD starting to flip bullish once we're able to reclaim back above key levels. And now you can see daily time frame breakout starting to push higher here now on this name. So AMD, we're actually shaping up fairly nicely. If you go back into the weekly chart now, you can see it kind of bounced after sweeping this low, bottomed with the market here as well, pushing back nicely for AMD. Next levels that we do have is really this daily gap. So for AMD, if I remove a couple of things here, the levels that we can have marked out on AMD is now going to be this 150 and eventually this daily gap that we have all the way back from this earnings from November of last year. So for AMD, key levels coming into today, you can see, look at this daily chart starting to push higher. If you look at this weekly chart here as well, flipping very bullish here on this weekly time frame. So for AMD, key levels today is going to be this 147. We have your 150 as well, and then your 153. So for AMD coming into today, key levels that we can have marked out, at least intraday. I already have these levels marked out on the higher time frames. We can also mark out your previous day highs, which is going to be all the way back down in towards your 143. So I don't really expect AMD to move back down in towards your 143. So this one's going to be based off of your higher time frame levels along with intraday price action as well. So for AMD, potential kind of consolidation and right push back towards the upside, right? This one as well, you're up about 3 days in a row, but this one higher time frame breakout, markets that are all-time highs. What can go higher? Potentially this one does have room towards the upside as well, 150, but you do want to look for, right, any sort of pullbacks. You don't really want to buy this as it's moving up. You want to wait for any sort of smaller time frame pullback to look for a continuation back towards the upside. As for Netflix, this one, similar thing, all-time highs, continuation on this name. If I go on to the daily time frame, we end up having this nice break and retest above your 1256 here on Netflix. And this one's now just going to continue higher. So levels you can have marked out. Let me just get rid of these ones. You can see right here, it's going to be your all-time highs, and then you can also mark out your Tuesday's high here as well. This is the level you like to see a reclaim. If you want to see a push back towards the upside, hold above this 1280. So 1280 is going to be key for Netflix. Okay, yeah, if you guys do have any charts or tickers you'd like me to go over, you guys can drop them in the chat. We do have some red folder news at 8:30. Let me just pull this up. So we'll wait for 8:30 until we develop our game plan. If you guys are enjoying this, I appreciate if you guys drop me a like and sub. So far today we do have final GDP numbers along with unemployment. This is going to be at 8:30. So we'll just wait for this and then we will develop our game plan coming into market open. Alrighty. Let's see. Good morning. What's up, everyone? 60, yes, that is correct. Palantir hymns. So when you consider bearish bias on S&P, like, so when would you consider a bearish bias on S&P? Like when you break, would you be bearish bias for you? Are you talking about intraday or higher time frames? Intraday, I can flip bias back and forth, right? I can be bearish bias or bullish bias, right? Just based off the scenarios that I laid out. But based off the higher time frames, I'm not bearish on S&P 500 whatsoever, right? We've been bullish for a while, right? We're looking at the past 20 to 40 sessions. That's key. If you're looking to develop a bias, usually you can do this on the daily time frame. Right, the daily time frame is not always useful when you're trading on the lower time frames, like on the 1 minute and the 5 minute. But if you want to have a higher time frame perspective, usually the best trades that you take will be in line with the daily chart. So in this case, if I'm looking at the past 20 to 40 sessions, we've been bullish for a very long time. It's basically just look at this price action right here. And what's happening? Gap up on the overall markets. If you just want a little bit more context, you can just look at this. Price, you have all-time highs, you have a gap up, next logical level, all-time highs. It would take a decent amount to flip bearish because now we're gravitating towards all-time highs. The daily chart would have to push higher, kind of have this break of structure, and then maybe I'd flip bearish once we get back underneath this 590, right? At least on the daily time frame. For the intraday time frame, I can flip bearish if it breaks underneath key levels, or if it shows me intraday relative weakness, then I can flip bearish intraday. But at least for the higher time frames, we've been bullish for a while for a push towards that all-time highs. All right, Palantir, key levels for Palantir coming into today that we do have is number one, let me actually just remove a few key levels, is your 144 along with this 142. So Palantir, pretty big day yesterday. Immediate opening drive play right off the bat, actually super solid potential, kind of opportunity if you're able to capture this right off the bat. You also had an immediate retest later into the session. Once we did get back underneath this 144, that's when it started to lose momentum and came all the way back down to your previous day close, along with the area that we broke out from on Tuesday. So for Palantir now, go back onto the 15-minute time frame. Coming into today, key levels is going to be your 144.48. If you can reclaim this level, hold potential continuation. I think Palantir is going to be a little bit trickier because it's a huge day yesterday and you had a pretty big mean reversion. So for Palantir, more likely than not, it's just going to consolidate in between its previous day highs and previous day lows. And we're just going to kind of consolidate around this general area 144. So not too much to talk about on Palantir. You can keep an eye out on your 144 for potential opportunities, but more likely than not, inside bar day. As for HIMS, this one popped, and then you can see just instantly faded back towards the downside, which was expected after this big drop. Right, you can see immediate pop, fade. And now for HIMS, key levels that you're going to have marked out 42. What you would like to see coming to today, stay heavy underneath 42 for this continued push down in towards your 41 and below here. For HIMS, if you reclaim this, I would not be looking for a long, but if you reclaim your 42.60s, potential mean reversion back up in towards your 44. If we do stay heavy underneath their 42, you could be using this 42.60 as risk for this continued push back towards the downside. Thank you for telling me about dividends, ARM. As for ARM, so all the semiconductors are pushing higher. So ARM, MU, TSM. MU actually had earnings yesterday. TSM, a lot of other semiconductors as well. AVGO. As for ARM, key levels that we have marked out is now going to be your 160.97 along with your 163 on the higher time frames. So for ARM key levels coming into today, we can mark out your Tuesday's highs. You can see the hold of your Tuesday's highs yesterday. What we would like to see maintain above your 157 for this continued push back towards your 159.50 and above being your 160.97. SMCI as well, another name that is a semiconductor. Daily chart is starting to shape up nicely here as well. After finally consolidating for the better part of the past 2 months here on SMCI, starting to break out here with a lot of strong volume. Key levels that we're going to have marked out is now going to be the top of the range, 47.80s. Let's go back onto lower time frames here. So yeah, for SMCI, we're starting to break out here. 47.80s is a key level. You can also mark out now. It's going to be your previous day highs as well, your 46.90s. So your 46.90s, what we like to see maintain above your 46.90s for this push higher, or a break above your 48.80, sorry, your 47.80s, hold and push back towards the highs. Bumble key level is going to be this gap fill. Not too much to talk about on this one, but if you can now, right, it seems like we did have news recently. I'm not sure if you had earnings, but yeah, news kind of popping this higher, break above your 660s. You have a gap fill back towards the upside. So we like to see it break above, hold for continuation. So key levels, previous day highs, 660s, break above, retest, continuation higher. Okay, let me go over some few other names here as well. We do have about 2 minutes until until red folder news. So we'll wait until that. For SoFi, this one, yeah, daily time frame, just going to continue higher. SoFi looks good for a push back up and towards its gap that we have on the daily time frame back at the 1690s. So for SoFi, key levels that we do have, 1550s, 1640s, along with this 1690s here on the higher time frames. You can just mark out down close candles, right? Tuesday's highs marked out. Now we can mark out your Wednesday's high here as well, previous day highs, and use these levels as key areas. So we can draw this out, and then we can draw your previous day highs as well. Okay, Palantir, quickly go over Circle. So yeah, Circle kind of pulling back here with the coin, just continuing to hold up. So Circle pulling back. Now you can see the key levels that we have for Circle. We don't have too many levels of support. So we kind of went up in a straight line. So that's the problem when tickers go up in a straight line, is that generally speaking, if they go up in a straight line, they can only do one of two things: have a move down in a straight line, or price consolidates. In this case, it's kind of pulling back here. Key levels we like to see hold and get above. It's not hold. The levels that we like to see is a reclaim. So it has to reclaim above key levels if you want to see any sort of strength. Levels that I have marked out now is going to be this key pivot low back from Friday of last week, also your Thursday's high. So this level is really the only level for me of your support. We can just draw this out a little bit more. It's your 208, right? 208, it has to see a reclaim and base above your 208 if you want to see a pushback towards the upside. If you reject off this 208, next level is previous day lows and below. Okay. We just had some red folder news here as well. Let me pull this up. Will your sizing be different at all-time highs? Yeah, so sizing depends on primarily the setup. So we're at all-time highs, but a lot of names haven't hit all-time highs. Like the QQQ, the Qs hit all-time highs, but for the SPY, we haven't hit all-time highs. So that's the level we can expect the markets to gravitate towards. And you'll see the last leg of a move usually has the most liquidity. So this is currently right the last leg of a move. So if you've watched my video, it's a little bit more of a complex kind of topic, but we talk about how speed and momentum plays into a factor when you're trading the last leg of a move, because your last leg of a move is always going to be the most violent. You can see price came all the way back down, right? This reversal and everything in between here can be fairly slow. It can be mechanical, move up on low volume, but generally speaking, the last leg, which is the leg that takes out liquidity, usually has the most speed, momentum, and volatility, and a bunch of those things. So this is really the best time to trade in the higher time frames and the lower time frames as well. So this right here is technically your last leg on SPY. You can see the Qs, big push higher. If I go into any sort of name here, like even NVIDIA, you can see compared to its past previous weeks, look at this last leg to take out your all-time highs. Look at the speed and kind of momentum on this move. So this is the last leg, and this is the time where you will have some nice opportunities, some nice trends. So we just had GDP numbers, as you can see right here at 8:30. Actual was negative 0.5, forecasted negative 0.02. So came in a little bit lower than expected. For unemployment, also came lower than expected. 236 forecasted was 244. So if we're looking at the overall market, this one, a little bit of at least the final GDP numbers came in a little bit lower than expected. So for the overall market, you can see not really any sort of reaction. We had a pretty big move in the pre-market. Key levels are fairly set in stone here for the Qs. Previous day highs, since we're above it, has to hold if you do want to see any sort of continuation back towards the upside. As for the SPY, similar thing. What I have marked out, we can actually just mark this out. Just make this level a little bit smaller, and now we can mark out your previous day highs. So we have your previous day highs marked out, and now we can also mark out your this high right here, 608.40s. As for levels towards the upside, what we can have marked out, if I get rid of this, is going to be number one, your 609.59. We can mark out a few levels. We can mark out your 610. We can mark out your 613. So we can have this level. So these are the levels we have for SPY coming into today, 609, 610. And we also have your previous day highs. For any sort of continuation higher, we'd also like to see this level hold, essentially build a higher low from its previous days off of your previous day high here, 608.50s, a potential area we could be looking for on SPY for price to be supported back towards the upside. So yeah, if it comes into the market, let's say we are dropping here currently during the market open, we'll see how this opens up at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But for any sort of upside now, since it's breaking underneath, would have to be the reclaim back above, right? Reclaim back above your previous day highs. That's the only trade I would be somewhat interested in, as the market is actually breaking underneath your previous day highs. Okay, MU just had earnings. Yeah, I'll take a look at MU. So MU had earnings yesterday. We do have this gap that we ended up filling. If I remove a few levels here as well, MU, just nice continuation higher. Now with earnings, the key levels that we're going to have for MU, earnings high, earnings low, right? So that's going to be key for MU. I don't expect too much to happen on day number one. Potential move back down in towards your 126. But regardless, MU holding up with a bunch of the other semiconductors. We now like to see, right, eventual consolidation and then push back towards the upside. So key levels you can have marked out is going to be your previous day highs, your 127 here on MU. TSM, can you please do a video on the indicator show / mark out highs and lows for each day? Yes, at least for the indicator, it would already have it drawn out. That's what the indicator's for. At least currently, some people are asking about that. It's closed. I'm not sure. It's closed off to the public. We're doing some tweaks to it, and we might release it later on, but we're only going to release it if we think it's the time's right. Circle. Yeah, went over that one. SPX, how about Hood? Yeah, Hood hit all-time highs yesterday as well. You can see a little bit of reaction. So Hood has been one of my favorite names. If you guys have been watching the pre-market preps, we've been talking about Hood for potential move towards all-time highs for a while now. So it's good to finally see Hood at all-time highs. That is your exact key level, 84 key psychological level. Once we got above this 66, that was the next level. And now you can see really solid push higher. So for Hood, I don't really have too many levels left since we are at all-time highs. So you're going to have to use Fibonacci's. Key psychs above will be like 90, 100. You can see a little bit of reaction yesterday, which was expected. Now for Hood, what you'd like to see for any sort of continuation is above your 85. So consolidation above your 85, continuation higher. Other key levels we can mark out is going to be your Tuesday's highs. You prefer to hold right higher low off of your 82 and a reclaim back above your 85 for any sort of continued pushback towards the upside. Okay, Circle, SPX, how about Hood, NVIDIA over AMD? They're both good, at least now for AMD and NVIDIA. The pullbacks are both the same, right? The main thesis is the semiconductor. So at least like intraday setup wise, sometimes right AMD will be super solid. It will end up retesting perfectly. NVIDIA sometimes will be the leader and they'll kind of flip back and forth. As long as you have the overall thesis, which is the semiconductors, you're looking for major pullbacks on the semis, right? Regardless of what semiconductor you chose, either AMD or NVIDIA the past week, you most likely would have made a decent amount of money by choosing either semiconductor. So it depends on now what ticker you like better, what levels you have marked out, and the ticker personality. Life Changers whole crew here, join. Let's see, Reddit. Say for intraday, which key level would break bearish bias on S&P 500? It would have to be number one, at least the 543. And this short, this short, in my opinion, would offer a decent opportunity underneath your previous day highs, just because we're a little bit overextended. Q's hit all-time highs, SPY's gravitating towards your key levels. This would be an entry I might be interested personally. I wouldn't take this there unless it showed extreme relative weakness. But a lot of times, any sort of relative weakness will be a trap just because the higher time frame is bullish. So I'd much rather, if price broke underneath, let's say it broke underneath, I'd much rather look for the reclaim, because a lot of people are, right? I'm not sure how many people are looking for shorts. It's a lot easier to trade, especially on the higher time frames when every dip has gone bought up, right? You just want to trade in line with the higher time frames. But in this case, right, key level 543. Hymns, I would mention that one. Have you ever looked at the opening range break on the 2-minute time frame? No, I personally will use this on the 1, 5, and 15. Those are the time frames I use. Maybe you can try out the 2-minute and back test that one, but personally 1, 5, and 15 are the main ones. Have you looked at using the two? Let's see, SMCI. Yeah, I went over those. CHL could use IWM. Yeah, let me go over IWM, small cap ETF. For IWM, key levels that we have is your 212. Right, 212 key level, hold of your 212, continue push back towards the upside. Next levels will be your 215 here and above. At least on the lower time frame, sorry, I was looking at something. Lower time frames, similar thing. 212, maintain above your 212, you can see a push higher. Consolidation, potential break underneath 212. You can see 211.50 and below. Maybe you could be looking for, right, 212 underneath. Let's see. Would you recommend using two strategies, break and retest in the reversal, or solely focus on the break? So the break and retest works best when it's in trending markets, right? So your strategy that you trade is not always going to be, you can't capture everything, right? So in this scenario, right, you're trading SPY and Qs. SPY and Qs been fairly choppy the past kind of 2 months. If you're trading reversals, bounces, and rejections, and you're trading on the lower time frames, maybe you're trading futures, you would have made some nice money, right? The break and retest didn't work as well because the markets aren't trending. It was primarily consolidating here on the higher time frames. You can see a little even more consolidation for the month of June. So this is the time where the break and retest, it's not that invitation, it's not that good because the markets are not trending. So that's why we have to find names that are trending, at least on the tech side. But when the markets are trending, that's when you make the most of your money. When the SPY and Qs broke out, right? We had that SMH breakout as well. You'll see that's when the break and retest works the best. It works the best in trending markets. If the market's trending, which the markets don't trend as often, like if you're talking about the overall indices, SPY and Qs, primarily the indices are at least trending. They have nice trends, I'd say like 30% of the time. The rest of the time, you have like mean reversions, you have consolidation. On the tech side, you'll always find a trend on the daily time frame. But you can see on Tesla or some opportunities, NVIDIA, we had some nice opportunities. This is the time where, right, in the trending market, you'll end up making more money. In the past 3 days, I made more money than I did in the past month, because the market was trending and it had nice opportunity. If I was looking at my P&L the past month, I didn't make too much money previously because the markets were consolidating, right? There was an opportunity, right? It was just in a very tight range. It was basically the whole month was in a 2-point range. The past 3 days, we've had a 15-point move. So we basically 3x'd the ATR within 3 days on NVIDIA. And you can see how big of a move this is. And that's when you're going to make the most money, is when markets are in trend, when options are trending, right? It's very hard to trade options as well when you trade reversals, right? So you don't want to take reversals when you're trading options, because you have to worry about timing as well. If you're trading futures, any other names, you don't have to worry about that. But options specifically, higher time frames, speed and momentum. MSTR, how about Bitcoin, a Reddit, hymns? Are you taking any profits on HOOD or letting shares ride? I'm personally going to let the share ride. I'm not going to sell any HOOD. I'll share some like covered calls here and there, but for HOOD, I'm just going to hold this one. This one, at least for alt. I could sell some at all-time highs, but most likely I'm just going to hold this one on the higher time frames. This is a key level if you want to take some profits. Thank you for the info on NVIDIA and AMD. Made a decent return this week. Solid. I'm glad to hear. Let's see what else. Yeah, I'll go over a few more tickers here as well, and then I will get ready for market open. Got an NVIDIA trailer left over from yesterday. What would your stop? Would you use a stop loss break below pre-market lows? If you only have one trailer, or if you have some trailers, right, look to scale into strength. Preferably, I always would recommend scaling into strength instead of looking to, right, kind of stop out. You always want to sell on pop. So regardless, you're already going to be in very nice profits. I'd much rather sell on any sort of pops than look to have a trailing stop and get knocked down for 155. So key levels I personally have marked out but you're actually in a very good spot, because this one continue higher. You don't really have to have a trailing stop, because there's a very good chance we'll move higher first. So you'll probably hit your take profit, whatever that profit is, before it comes down and stops you out. So in this case, you could move it to your 155 if you'd like. It probably will come back down to your 155, hold this level and continue higher. So you can have this one as at least a mental, right? If it breaks underneath this one, your 155, then you could look to cut it. But I would most likely sell in strength. Do you trade options? I know even more risk to reward. Do you have a video on trading options? If so, would you link it? Uploaded? Yeah, so I trade options, but it's based off the underlying. So it's just your different asset class. If I'm trading SPY and Qs, right, I'll look for potentially even futures, but it's the asset class. So I'm trading the underlying, but the asset class is options. How long do these trends usually last? As long as it maintains structure. So it can last until primarily the names move towards all-time highs. So for the QQQ, all-time highs. For SPY, what can we expect? We can expect a nice trend up and towards your all-time highs here as well, which will be 613, or if you have the other chart marked out, it'll be kind of the 610. So 613, you look on the ES, next levels that we can expect the markets to start trending for at least the next little bit. You can see now we broke above the key levels. We have levels all the way back from your all-time highs. I expect the markets to have a very nice price action all the way up until the SPY and ES hit your all-time highs. So any sort of dips that we have, I expect the markets to move higher. For the Qs, similar thesis. I'm expecting very nice price action until we eventually hit your all-time highs. And even after all-time highs, we're going to have nice price action around this key level as well. So for the SPY and Qs, that's going to be our main target. How do these trends? Did you size up over the last 2 days? Just wondering when to size up or keep the same. Yeah. So the position size, I'm on Tesla. I was risking a little bit more. It's all based off the risk amount. So how much are you risking? I always go off by risk. So the size depends on also it depends on the risk amount because you can technically. Have the exact same size, but if your risk, it's your risk amount. So you can technically size up and have the same risk amount, or you could be at the same size as you previously did, but risk more. So I go based off the size amount, and the risk that I've had has been more just because of the setups that we've had. Like the Tesla setup, that was an A plus setup for me. News, higher time frames, plus we had relative strength, NVIDIA, AMD, all these ones as well, right? Nice higher time frame setups, and they're more clear. And you can see there's actually follow through and momentum. Whereas before, right, nothing was really happening. Now, clear higher time frame breakout, we're actually having continuation, and now we're having follow through on the overall markets. Okay, let me kind of briefly go over my game plan and then I will call it a day here and get ready for market open. As for the SPY and Qs, similar thing. We talked about this one. 608.50s is going to be your key level. You can see markets are defending your previous day highs so far on the SPY. For the QQQ, similar thesis, defending your previous day highs as of right now. So if the markets can hold your previous day highs, we can expect continuation higher coming to market open. If it consolidates, breaks underneath, I am really not too interested in the short position. I would much rather look for, right, if it broke underneath, I'll be waiting for the reclaim back above your previous day highs for continuation, just because the higher time frames is bullish. It could offer an opportunity for a mini scalp, but anything that you short towards the downside, be cautious and look to take profits quick because the higher time frames is still bullish. Order flow is still bullish as well. As for my watches coming into today, I'm just going to be looking for kind of major pullbacks. Tesla and NVIDIA and AMD are fairly overextended, but the key levels, previous day highs, if you can get that on NVIDIA, that would be solid. AMD key levels, it is fairly far away as well. It's going to be your 144. We'll have to look for more intraday price action as well based off and some of the levels that we have on the higher time frames. As for everything else, it's really just primarily the semiconductors. A lot of these other names haven't been doing too much. Tesla, Apple, lagging the markets. It's really just been the semiconductors that have been leading the way higher. Meta looks good as well above 712. We'll keep an eye out on that and potential Google above your previous day highs. So we'll keep an eye out on the semis and Meta. And then we'll look at a few other names. A lot of the other semiconductors, I didn't go over them, but AVGO looks super solid above your 264. We also have Coin based above your 350. Looks good for continuation. And then you have MU just had earnings, and then you have a few other ones. TSM almost hit all-time highs here. So TSM is fairly close. We do have all-time highs, 226 on TSM. So 226, if you have the adjusted contracts off, 225. Fairly close to all-time highs. For TSM, similar thing, you would just mark out your previous day highs, and that's your key level on this name. But yeah, that is going to be it. Average length, what's the average length? Primarily, I don't hold it for that long, right? If I have trailers or if I'm holding positions, generally speaking, it's usually within like 15 to 30 minutes. If the trade has continuation, that's awesome. I'm going to hold it longer. And then if it has a daily time frame breakout, potential multi-day runner, then I can hold it for maybe an overnight or like a day two, just for trailers. But at least the bulk of my position, I'm usually out within the first 15 to 30 minutes. But then I'll have trailers, and those trailers, depending on the setup, and if it maintains, where I can hold those. But I'm not going to hold a full position for where I'm always going to look to take partials and lock in some profits along the way. Whenever you say risk, do we mean allow the amount of drawdown you're willing? Exactly, the risk and drawdown. So I'm only risking on an option position when I have a nice break and retest, 10 to 20%. That's only how much I have to give it. Okay, sweet. I'm going to get ready for market open here. As always, if you guys haven't joined the watch list, that one's in the description below. And if you guys did enjoy that, appreciate if you guys drop me a like and sub, and I will see you guys all tomorrow morning. All right, take care, everyone. Have a great rest of the day.